Now, please don't get mad about what we're about to say. Yeah, turns out we might have been kind of right. There have been some pretty major changes in Daima. Some things that contradict maybe not any of the manga or anime stuff that we're accustomed to, but certainly the stuff from the guidebooks. It may not upset us as much, really. We're in the privileged position of knowing the old lore because of our work, but hey, something big happened and we're really interested in it. That's where we're going to go today. And yeah, we mean Shin hailing from a race called Glind, and basically confirming himself as a previous inhabitant of the demon realm. Now, before we start to unpack this further, let's quickly refresh the old status quo. Before this bombshell of a reveal, the guidebooks suggested that the Kais were of something called by fans a core person. By no means an official translation, by the way, it didn't really get one. The Japanese name is, of course, Shinjin. And as we mentioned before, they come from two types of fruit from the kaiju tree. Regular ones, which spawn all your directional or compass Kais, like King Kai, and the golden ones that create those of the supreme variety. It's also stated that their homeworld, the core world, never has a population of more than 80 inhabitants at the same time. We also knew that those considered evil and of impure heart were being tossed to the demon realm and were known as MasakoX. Interestingly though, the Otherworld tournament filler had also introduced a third type of Kai-like creature. While they were never referred to as such, it is worth looking at them from the perspective of Dragon Ball Daima. Do these creatures seem familiar to you in any way, shape or form? They were seen as the Grand Kai's attendants and have literally zero lore about them and are mostly just little impish characters, but the horns are very similar to that of Mr. Popo. Also, the Grand Kai himself is a little bit of a slippery slope of a topic, but him even appearing in the saga has been an idea from Toriyama himself. He even designed the guy. Thanks, by the way, of confirmation from Trev and Anime AJ helping us identify this piece. There is, however, no proof that the horned little Kais are in any shape or form designed by Akira Toriyama himself, like the Grand Kai. But we thought it was something that was fun to look back at now that we know what we know with Daima. And especially since Grand Kai is such an oddity in of himself. Not quite a golden fruit person, but definitely not one of your regular sort. Anyway, these are all distractions, so what's the new lore again? Oh yeah, Glind. Now before we get to then, here comes the always reliable Herms with his translation. This episode reveals that Shin, and presumably all the Kaioshin Supreme Kai, belong to a race called Gurindo-jin, likely an anagram of Donguri, Japanese for acorn. This fits the overall plant theme for Demon Realm natives. So the fruit imagery is still there in some way. Yeah, acorns are nuts, and nuts are in fact fruits, at least botanically. But the thing is that whilst the translation is in fact spotless as always, we still don't know if the likes of the Grand Supreme Kai or Kibito share Shin's ancestry. It's wise to assume so though, but we can also entertain another option, one that does not comprise old lore for that matter. Maybe Glind are the MasakoX offshoot of the race that were banished a long time ago, while they were still members living on the core world or the sacred world of the Kais. That would be slightly easier to answer than the alternative. You have the bad part of the race, but some of them escape, manage to redeem themselves and reintegrate themselves into the good society. That would explain the whole family conflict that we're seeing with Shin and his relatives, Degesu and Dr. Arinsu. And if that's not the case, well, things get pretty damn weird. And the weirdest thing about the divine law right now is that at some point it was decided by the higher up deities, presumably the Grand Priest, that the bunch of escaped demons are going to be the best possible candidates for the creation gods of the 18 universes. And we do know that the demon realm is across reality, so at some point they simply had to, spread themselves across the multiverse, which does make us question, were there any creation gods before then, or was it just simply the GP and Zeno, or the GP, Zeno and Zalama? Who knows, right? Also, how did even the demon realm come to be in the first place? If no one was banished there, then what's the purpose of it? Did it predate the function of the Supreme Kai? These are very interesting options and some things that we would love to see answered in the fullness of time. At least, we should be told how exactly Shin landed under the tutelage of the Grand Supreme Kai and became his apprentice. That would explain a lot. Also, there is one very interesting thing related to the promotional materials regarding Daima. We see very little of the second demon world compared to the first and the third. Now, to refresh your memory, the first one is like the classical interpretation of the demon realm. We get a glimpse of it in the Buu saga with Gohan's fight against Dabura. The third one is like Sandland in a way. It's like a fun desert with pink skies. The second one, it's like a green lush world, that thing we see in the promo art, just a shot of it. Now maybe it's just us, right? But if it does have a bit of that Namekian vibe to it, and some of those trees have this Ajisa-esque vibe, but the floating planet does bring to mind King Kai's world as well. We have been speculating about the connection between the two species for quite some time. In fact, Dragon Ball Super Superhero gave us more fuel to this theory. So yeah, I do expect a lot of things being, well, revealed once we get to the second world. But just think about it. King Kai might be a demon. How weird is that? Like, we're not mad or anything, but how weird of a thought must that be? Moreover, it doesn't only limit us to Universe 7, you see. We know that in Super, Toriyama had a hand in shaping Jiren and insisting for his tragic backstory. Look at his master, Gichin. Spiky ears, all right. Also, wait, how did he die? All right, a demon. That's all we got. And demons come from the demon realm. And there is only one demon realm between the multiverse. Let that sink in. Maybe good old Gichin, who by the way was also really old, had some unfinished business from the demon realm that came his way. Maybe there are even members of the same subspecies, but the bad guy never reformed. We don't know. And I don't know if this particular thread will be followed in any way going forward. However, it has been said that Toriyama wanted to use Daima as a setup for future stories, a platform, so who knows? I mean, look, Toppo even has spiky ears. There are literally so many demons on display in the Tournament of Power. And yeah, we do have confirmation that not all spiky-eared individuals are demons, but most are, or at least descended from them. So at least some of the characters that we've seen have some kind of demonic ancestry. Papillon is a pretty fun example from the movies, but I wouldn't count them as much because, you know, movies, he clearly was meant to be an elvish kind of character in this case. Yet, now with every character that has spiky ears in the show, all we're going to be thinking is it a demon or not a demon? And you know what? That's totally fine. It's very Toriyama to shake the foundations of his own universe as his last deed for the series before he sadly passed away. This clever author has trolled us for the last time. Literally, Dragon Ball has trolls now. Those guys from episode 3 in the Not Cantina, they're officially called trolls. Daima isn't going to be a super long series, by the way. Most likely maybe 20 episodes, so we appreciate while it airs, and so far it has been pretty lore heavy. And we know that so far it might be slow for some of you, but my gosh, it feels like something that Hav and I have been asking for years. We really hope that we're going to get some answers and clarifications about all of our questions, you know? But under no circumstances do we believe that all the questions that we have posed in the script will be answered. This is almost like a wish list. After all, I'm pretty sure that no creator of Dragon Ball has been designing the characters with the thought that spiky ears equals demon, or Kaioshin equals Glind equals demon. But it does create new opportunities for the stories, recontextualizes what we already know. And truth be told, we still don't know if the old lore is totally discarded or if it's just slightly modified. The truth of the matter is that as long as something hasn't appeared in any of the stories and is merely a footnote in a guidebook, you should only treat it as merely a suggestion of what Toriyama's ideas were at the time instead of, you know, actual lore with actual gravitas. It's a guidebook. And we knew hardly anything about the Demon Realm before now, at least from the main author himself. And now the gaps are being filled up, I admit, it's getting even weirder, the Demon Realm, than I ever anticipated. And honestly, I take that, you know? I'm glad. Toriyama's trademark weirdness, turning familiar stuff into something new, it's clear that he wanted to tell us this story. He was never too chained by the continuity. And I think we as fans, especially in the West, are sometimes a little too clingy toward every single bit of information. It's the whole earthworm krill thing. He never really thought much about that answer, but when asked, he answered in a silly manner, saying Krillin had no nose and he breathed through his skin. People took it unreasonably seriously. By no means I'm trying to suggest that Daima will not be taken seriously and wasn't taken seriously by Toriyama. Quite the opposite. We still see that some of that fruit theming is present in the Glind name, and we still don't know if everything we know from the guidebooks is completely cast away. But there are some inspirations from them. It's like the whole Gichamu Kikuno debacle. They are probably the same character. Toriyama just never bothered to double-check the name of the inventor for the Scouters that he came up with years ago. The important thing is that there is a brilliant scientist in the Freezer Force who was behind the designs of Scouters for the Empire. So yeah, of course, we want to know more about the demon worlds, about the Glinds, the Namekians, about why Glorio is so dodgy, about why Neva is so shifty. What is Dr. Aritsu doing? What is her deal? We haven't really thought that a Dragon Ball show would put such an emphasis on its lore in this way, but here we are. And you know what? We're all up for it. And if you're interested to find out what's been going on with Dragon Ball Daima in its first 3 episodes and you've missed the boat on that one, don't worry. I have got the thing for you when it comes to my reviews on every single episode. You can check in this playlist right now.